Hello and welcome to BeeBooks. I'm Deborah and today I'm going to show you my February readings. Before starting, please subscribe to my channel and click the bell button to stay updated with my contents. I'll be more than happy if you follow me even on my social medias. I leave in the description box the links to my Instagram, Twitter and Goodreads account. I'm so grateful for your support and kindness. I thank you from the bottom of my heart. And without further ado, let's start. First of all, I finished the Lunar Chronicles series and it was a bittersweet emotion because I was dying to know the end of this series, but on the other hand I was fond of these characters, and so as always I was happy and sad when I finished this series. But let's talk a little bit about each volume I read this February. I read Cinder in the 2018 and one goal of this new year was to finish this series because it was really fascinating for me. And so of course firstly I've read Scarlet, the second chapter of the series. This was a highly entertaining book. We get to know two new characters, Scarlet of course and Wolf, and they are both interesting as single characters and as a couple too. Scarlet is strong, determined, she has a quite complicated family. She grew up without a mother and her father is an alcoholic, and so she has this strong bond with her grandmother and is so sweet. And then there's Wolf, that's one of Livana's super soldiers, and he has to struggle with these wild inner instincts, and they make a good couple because they are both survivors and at the same time fighters. But with them there is also an insta-love situation going on, and for us nowadays it's difficult to accept it. But we have to keep in mind that this series is not so recent. It was published several years ago, and back then people loved to read about it. So I'm not saying that's a good lesson, that's a good message, and I'm not saying I agree with it. But you know, insta-love was very common back in the past, and so I understand why it's here. In this book I also love so much Cinder's and Kai points of view. Cinder is probably my favorite character of all the series, so yeah, her points of view are my favorite. Moving on, I read the third book in the series, Cress, and unpopular opinion time, this was my least favorite book. I know that many won't agree with me, that's okay, we are all different. The main reason why I didn't like this book was that I didn't like at all Cress. I found her points of view so annoying. I mean, at first I understood her. She has been trapped all her life in a very small room with no human contact except for her mistress, Sibyl, and so I believe that it's normal that she thinks she's in love with the first good-looking and charming man who look at her, but then her personality doesn't develop throughout the book, and for me she remains more or less the same. At the end of the day she's still obsessed with Thorn, she's very dependent, and I didn't like her, at all. And then I have to say that even if I really enjoy Thorn as a character, here he isn't clear. He plays a little with Cress's feelings, and so I don't like them as a couple either. But then I have to be honest, and the final of this book is great. We have all the action that it's a distinctive trait of this series, and I really got involved in the story. So this was definitely a positive element in this book. And then I read Fairest, which is the novella between Cress and Winter, and basically it's Livana's background story. We follow her life from her childhood up to the present, where the main story takes place. And first of all, look at the cover, it's one of the most gorgeous I've ever seen. But then back to the book. This story made me sick, not because it's badly written or stuff like that, but because of the plot itself. Livana had a terrible childhood. Her parents were never there for her, and her older sister bullied her from the very beginning, and she also did something to her that's atrocious to read. At first it's easy to feel sympathy, but then as the story goes on you can't love her, you can't fully support her actions, because Livana's mind is twisted. She's insane, completely insane. She has her own logic, but it's twisted and it's not possible to support her at all. And it's a pity because Livana would have been a rightful and just queen. She was interested in Luna economics, Luna relationship with Earth, and it's a pity that her childhood and her traumas played a huge part to ruin her. And it's sad to read it because plus she doesn't know love for her entire life. I have no words to describe the sadness and the sick feeling you will experience while reading this book. And last but not least, we have Winter, which is quite thick. It's 800 pages long, but it's fast-paced, I have to say. It's all action, a plot twist. Every single page will make you hang on the edge of your seat. It's a fast rush toward the final climax. It was really satisfying. Here we have another interesting character, Winter. She's peculiar because she is lunar, but she refused to use her power of manipulation. As a result, she has terrible hallucinations and she has a painful life. And as I've said, this topic is very interesting because it makes readers reflect on the right of manipulating people. Lunar could use manipulation to do good things, but when you don't know the global picture, you can't be 100% sure that you are going to affect positively another person's life. Lunar power comes with huge responsibilities, and I really like how the theme is treated in this book. I really enjoyed Winter and Jason as a couple. They are solid, they are childhood friends that develop strong feeling through the time. My favorite part of this book is the chemistry between the characters. They work so well as a group, and so it was a little disappointing that in the end there aren't many group scenes. You know, after the main climax, we get to know how things will settle. We get a glimpse of what will happen in the future. I would have liked to see lots of more group scenes. It was already 800 pages, 10 more wouldn't have hurt anyone, I think. But yeah, that's only my personal opinion, of course. It's a great ending and I highly recommend this series. I think that the main adjective that I can use to describe it is entertaining. You won't be bored, absolutely. Moving on, then I read Truth Witch by Susan Dinard. Sorry for the pronunciation. This is the second book that arrived to me thanks to the Willoughby Book Club. It's a subscription box where they handpick a book for you each month, and it's always personal. It depends on your tastes, and it's great for me. So I've never heard of this series before, but it's actually quite famous, and I see why, because this is a great start for a series. At first I was a little confused because at first the author gives us too much information. I was overwhelmed by history and geography notions, new words, how magic works in this world, and it was a little unsettling. But if you get through that first pages, all get clear and it's very enjoyable. I personally love how magic works in this world. My favorite part of this book is that the main foundation is a female friendship, and it's great because it's not so common. The characters are all well written and I immediately have become attached to them, especially Safi, who is my favorite. She's a short temper and impulsive girl. She has the strongest development from the beginning to the end of this book, and in the end she accepts her responsibility both as a truth witch and also as a noble woman. And I think that this book is just a taste because it's a preparation for the sequels for me. You can feel the tension throughout the book, you can feel that something's going to happen, and after this one the real trouble is going to start. And so I really enjoy the political situation, the intrigues. I think that in the next books we'll have more political insights, and I'm so happy. And I can't wait to continue this series. So far, highly recommend. Talking about books that build up the story for the sequels, I read Daughter of Smoke and Bone by Laini Taylor, and I loved it so much. First things first, I love Laini Taylor's writing style. It's unique, so you could love or hate it, but for my own experience, I have to say that she is a queen. She can make me cry only describing a landscape, and she did with this book, especially when she described Prague. I don't know, she can play with my feelings and my heart, and I cried a lot. Here we get the background stories of each characters. We get to know how each one of them arrived to the present moment, and it also presents the ancient feud between angels and demons. That's the main theme of this series. There are also strong Romeo and Juliet vibes, so the theme of forbidden love is strong, but Laini Taylor brings it to another level, because there's so much more than that. The characters are all perfectly written, they have all their unique voices, you cannot not love them. And the main thing about this book is that it makes the reader reflect on heavy topics like the hate and fear of what's different, or if it exists another solution other than violence to some ancient problems and feud. So far this series is amazing, and I feel lucky because I'm discovering some great stuff. Moving on, a few words about this book, Professor Tolkien. In English the title is The Homecoming of Beorth Knock. This book surprised me a lot. This is a poem, but it's also a criticism of the Nordic heroism, and that's surprising if you think about it, but not completely. Professor Tolkien loved the ancient Nordic poems, and they all have pagan heroes, but he was very religious, and at the same time he had experienced the Trenches War, and he couldn't accept a romantic idea of war. He wrote it as a comment to a very famous Anglo-Saxon poem, The Battle of Maldon, and here he described in a very negative way the seek for glory and pride of the protagonist, and he underlined how the protagonist didn't think about the consequences of his actions that influenced even his soldiers and innocent people. And for me it was very interesting and different from all the other Tolkien's writing that I read so far, and so yeah, I recommend it if you are a Tolkien fan. It's something different. Then I read a graphic novel, and it's The Article Monkey. This is the Italian version because it was a gift, and I really enjoyed it. Again, here the main theme is racism, and it uses the ancient feud between French and English as an excuse to describe how dangerous is the hate and fear of what's different. The illustrations are perfect to describe the mood. The graphic novel is based on a story that's truly told, and it's quite a legend, we can say that. There are these rural citizens that are closed within their national borders, and they are afraid of everyone else basically outside the United Kingdom border. In some way that sounds familiar, right? And the main question that kept coming to my mind was, who is the real beast in this story? The Hartlepool citizens captured a monkey, and I believe he is a French soldier. They have never seen a French soldier, so they decided to do a trial and then execute this poor monkey. The only fault is that he wears a hat that usually is worn by French soldier. Look at the major. I don't know if you can see it, but look at him. He seems the monkey, and the monkey seems the human being. And for me this is a great graphic novel to read nowadays. It's important to reflect on how dangerous it is to fear what's different and to close ourselves within our borders. I recommend it again. And last but not least, I read King of Scars by Leigh Bardugo. I'm not going to talk a lot about it because I'm going to film a complete review for this book. Just a couple of things. I didn't like the ending. I have to say I'm not 100% sure this is what I was expecting. Please wait for my complete review, it will come soon. If I've already uploaded it, I'll leave it in the description box and right here. So this is the end of my February wrap-up. Thank you so much for watching. Let me know in the comments down below if you are interested in some of these titles, or if you have already read some of them, what did you think? Please don't forget to like this video and share it with your friends. It would help me a lot, and see you next time. Bye!